Hey there, guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Facts, number 324, sound design, animated trees, and optimizations. I am joined by Bombug again.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me back on again, X.
No worries, how's it going, dude?
It's going pretty good. Ready for the weekends.
Oh,
Hopefully,
yeah.
not going to get hit with snow too hard this time around, like last week.
Oh, yeah, last week was rough.
Yeah. You guys got hit harder than I did over here.
Oh, yeah, we got like a foot of snow here. Um, but speaking of a lot, there's a lot of stuff in this Friday Facts. We're going to summarize some of it, read some of it. First off, we have another thing for the eShop, Factorio logo patches. So they're introducing a new Fabric Factorio logo patch, which are now available at the eShop. These new sew-on embroidered patches are ideal for clothing, hats, backpacks, etc. The dimensions are 2.5 by 12 centimeters, which, being a clueless American, I don't know how big that is. It's, I mean, it's like a logo for like a shirt size, but it's pretty cool. Now they are in kind of low stock, I should say. There's limited stock at this time. And then obviously take into account shipping and packing with the Christmas season and all that. But this is really cool. I'm excited they're adding more stuff to the shop. I hope there's even more to come in the future. I
Yeah,
might get one. I don't know what for, but it seems cool.
yeah, it seems pretty nice. I mean, just being able to put it on pretty much any fabric you want. And it's got straight up the Factorio logo, so if you weren't really digging the green chips or the inserters, this gives you a little bit of variety. It's
Yeah,
pretty good.
exactly. Maybe I'll like put one on one of my hoodies or something.
Yeah.
So there's that. So now we have sound design, which is really interesting. I'm gonna read this pretty much verbatim, just because it's really interesting and not like overly like there's not much that can be summarized. So Factorio doesn't have like super like detailed intense sounds for a lot of stuff, but they're working on it, which is really exciting. So Ian was brought on to finish the sound for version 1.0. It was felt that a sound designer was needed to work at in Prague in the office to help implement the sounds and improve the audio vision. With a desire to make some quick wins, one of my first tasks was to add the sounds of the enemy's footsteps, which we felt would really make them come alive. Unfortunately, it transpired that the tech we wanted to use for this, each step being connected to the correct train as per the player's footsteps, was going to be too expensive for the game in terms of CPU. After all, some of these creatures have 12 legs. Remembering a similar nightmare with giant spider footsteps on a Harry Potter game years ago, I decided to make a simpler solution. What they do now is play a one-shot sound for each cycle of the walk animation. First of all, I started sourcing sounds from a library so I could rapidly prototype something by taking some eggshells cracking sounds and adding them to a video of the walk animations. I managed to create something pretty good for the biter steps or movement. I plan to record some extra sounds for these later on, but for now, these work fine. The sounds are different for each enemy, however. The biters have more crackle, and the spitters have more of a set of thuds. The bigger the enemy, the bigger the footsteps. These sounds should give you a greater feeling of immersion into the world as you hear them scurrying toward you just before you see them. And they have a little 30-second clip. You can listen to this. And there we go. So it's I really like the late. I'm not super sold on the like whatever those other sounds are, like the kind of like weird like huffing breathing thing.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not entirely like I know that that's like supposed to make them sound, I don't know, buggy or something. Uh, I'm not super fond of that. I do really like the footstep sounds though.
I'm just wondering if we can mod it into the sounds of Mr. Krabs walking. I don't know if you're familiar with that sound. Yeah, I think that would be just very disturbing to hear that. Yeah,
Yeah,
coming at you.
yeah, I bet.
The dark of the night in an early factory, right?
Yeah, that would strike some fear into you, huh?
Yeah, it would for sure. I definitely do like the footstep sounds though. I think crackling eggshells is very creepy, and yeah, I like it a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's kind of, you know, appropriate for bugs. You know, like if humans can actually hear like cockroaches or something walking in real life, that's probably not super far off from what they might sound like.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah,
So it doesn't come to that.
yeah,
Those
seriously.
cockroaches get pretty big.
Yeah, I don't want to be listening to them. And if I don't know if people watching my video could actually hear this because I'm not sure how it translates through my OBS, but if you can just head over to Friday Facts and watch this on your own at whatever volume you'd like. But it sounds really cool. So, lastly, for this section, regarding other enemy sounds, it seemed to me that the spitters and biters sounded too similar, and this is something I wanted to change. If we can distinguish between the sounds made by the enemies, this adds to the variety and also the fun factor. The other sound designer, Val, has made new sounds for spitters idols in order to bring out their squishiness and make them more disgusting. In the meantime, I've been adding these sounds to the game, playtesting and tweaking them. For example, I chose better sounds for the enemies dying in order to give clear feedback to the player when making a kill. In other news, I've been busy working on mixing the whole game, improving sounds as I see fit, but I'll leave that for another time. So, this the last sentence in the actual paragraph, better sounds for them dying to make it clearer. I expect this is going to be very disturbing. Uh, because
Excellent.
yeah, I expect it to be some horrible like squashing, exploding, maybe some weird bug screech or so. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it should be pretty good.
Definitely, I hope they draw some inspiration from bug-oriented games like Hollow Knight. I think
Hmm.
that would be excellent if they could have some sort of partnership and do a little campaign or pay some homage to each other. You know,
Yeah.
these definitely if you look at the walking of the bugs coming forward, it really gives the Hollow Knight feel. I
Hmm.
like it a lot. So the more of that sort of gruesome, creepy sounds we can get, the better.
I agree. That would be really cool. Just more immersion in the game for sure. So now on to probably what most people are excited about: animated trees, of course.
Yay!
Woohoo! We asked for these last week, and it's the Factorio devs. Of course, they delivered. They were actually already planning on it, but um, basically, a lot of feedback came in saying the trees look pretty dead in comparison. We knew that in advance, and it seemed like you were reading our minds because during the preparation of water, they were also working on trees. Today, we finally can present this work finished. The always running sound of wind in the game feels much better with these new animations, plus the sounds to come. The shadows cast by the trees are also animated, and it makes the effect on top of the water somehow much better. There's a GIF here where you can see what this looks like, and what do you think?
I think it is lovely. We were talking about this when they came out with the water animations, and I was really thrown back by or taken aback by the fact that the water was moving and everything else was still. So I think this is a great direction for them to go. I think this looks pretty nice, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it looks really nice. It definitely complements the water movement and stuff really well. It may be because this is super zoomed in. It does like it makes I don't know. It makes it like it seems like a little blurry to me, or makes me like slightly motion sick. Um,
Yeah, the way that they're doing the textures and the shaders, which you'll see in the next section, is just basically randomly moving some of the pixels a little to the left or a little to the right, and overall produces this effect where it's kind of got a glitchy, like switching between frames look to it. I think
mhm.
it'll look better when it's zoomed out.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, this is just like pretty more zoomed in than you would usually play, and I will say it does make me fairly motion sick, but I think zoomed out it'll be not as bad.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering too if they're gonna have periods of no wind where the trees aren't moving. I don't know if they. Well, I didn't see them mention it here, but I think that would be good to have occasional stillness on the world.
I completely agree because uh, let's be honest, there's definitely times where it's not windy enough for leaves on trees to be moving.
Yeah.
So then having them just like constantly 100% moving, like always the same, would probably seem really repetitive and kind of fake. But
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so it's looking good. The idea for animating trees is as old as Factorio, but they never had time due to obvious other priorities. One day, Waybags came with a very nice prototype, and I, Albert, got very engaged again with the idea. Sometime after, Ernestes made a new prototype based on different techniques. That was also really interesting. The subject was moving pretty solidly, but it wasn't enough. Next, Elizan had the idea of using the normal maps of the trees instead of generic noise to move the leaves, and the result of this experiment was fantastic. The rest will be explained by Elizan himself. So this part is like real technical. I did read it. It's fairly interesting, but it's kind of, I feel it's too much, I think, to read word for word here. So we're gonna kind of summarize this. Basically, like you said, Bombug, they're using like textures and shaders to kind of like move things back and forth, and they basically just explain like what like shaders and textures and stuff actually are in a lot of this.
Yeah, and if you're into game design, you're going to be initially very confused and scared of textures and shaders because they can be pretty complex. You'll see people doing just some real crazy animation and logic inside of their shaders, uh, but not every shader is that complex. These ones are much more approachable, and really they're super important to know if you're doing game development. So,
Mm-hmm.
also on top of that, there are a lot of movies and TV shows that are using uh, game graphics engines now.
Hmm.
So I think what's that Epic Games engine? Is it
Unreal.
yeah, Unreal Engine? Thank you. So Epic Games engine is being used by The Mandalorian for the Star Wars TV series
Is it
to do a
really?
lot. Yeah, so they do a lot of their rendering through that right now. So if you're going into anything from game design to movie studios and TV studios, yeah, you should take a look, read this more in detail.
Yeah, definitely. So, just like a super quick summary of this first section, basically texture, the GPU renders a texture pixel by pixel, and the pixel, roughly speaking, initially only knows where on the screen it is. A shader is then necessary to give the extra information needed to arrive at the color it's ultimately supposed to have, where it acts a bit like a color by numbers game. So, basically, you can see here screen, so we have numbers 0 through 5, and then on the right, just randomly arranged numbers. And the texture on the left one is is shown in the order below because it's assigned numbers in the correct order, like from the shader. But since these numbers are just randomly ordered, the colors are different because it's it's a random order of numbers, so it's telling to put the colors like in a different formation.
Yep, and this is really good for them to have because they go into the next section over all the states that these trees can be in, right?
Mm-hmm.
High quality versus low quality, full or half color depth. Something I didn't know, which is the leaves decrease in amount due to the pollution damage and have 4 stages. I didn't know that that was a thing. Did you?
Yeah. I knew they decreased um, like in amount. I didn't know that they had 4 stages though.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff to know. There's so much going on behind Factorio, so these blogs give us a lot of detail.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, using that, they're able to with their textures and their shaders. You can see in their GIF there, they do a little bit of debugging to figure out, hey, why isn't something moving as we expect? And what else do they have here? So they just go into the debugging of it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
and
pretty.
then it looks like instead of just using a normal shader here, they did something with a shader that looks more like a tree. Is that right? Shader or texture?
Yeah, I'm not. Looks like shader perhaps.
Yeah. So they just did a lot of extra technical work to make it look much cooler. And I'm wondering, you can see this more zoomed out version of the trees. It is sped up, and then they do put the blue, red, green map over it. But does that look a little better to you, the way the trees are moving?
I think so. I mean, it is sped up, so it's not
Yeah.
quite comparable, but I think zoomed out, it is better.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, so this just debugging really technical stuff. The conclusion here is we now have animated trees, and they are using textures and shaders to do that, which is pretty awesome. And if you like we said, if you want to read every single detail, you're welcome to check this section out. But I think we can move on down to optimizations. Of course, it's our seating. He is the absolute
Mhm.
king of optimizing Factorio. It always blows me away what he manages to do. So, do you want to? There's quite a bit here, but this can actually be summarized into pretty short amount.
Sure. You want me to give it a go?
Uh, if you want, or I can, whatever.
Yeah, let me take a shot at it here. So this section talks about optimizations. In this case, they wanted to look at a few things which check a lot of edge cases that don't happen very often, but they check for those cases every single update. Uh, the big one at the beginning here is the inserter. You can see there's a whole list of things that it does every single tick, checking for all sorts of edge cases, like checking if the destination has moved away, like a vehicle can be used in front of an inserter, and an inserter will pull items out of it or put items onto it, right? And that is a real edge case. I don't think a lot of people are driving cars around and using them as storage bins normally, but it can happen, right? So they need to check for it. Obviously, the common vehicle would be trains, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things are being checked each tick, and they wanted to see what can we do to move that edge case checking to just when the edge case happens. So in the second section, the targeter driven events, they talk about instead of checking every single tick for each possible case, they move to events that are driven by targets. So whenever a, uh, a cargo train moves in front of the inserter is now pointed towards that, and it uses just the events that it can based on what's there. And as soon as the vehicle moves away, then it deletes its pointer to it, and now it has a new set of events that it can deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only checking for what's actually there. And further along, they snowball it into a whole bunch of other entities, right? So mining drills are much the same as inserters are. Along with cargo wagons, locomotives, fluid wagons, they have the same kind of checks. So now they don't need to be active and checked every single tick, because it's only going to do what it needs to when it's actually active.
Mm-hmm.
What else do they have here? Blue Triangle module requesters have the same kind of checks. Logistics and construction robots. Uh, yeah, so they finished it and they ran their profiler again. Profiler is a tool that you run against your code, and it checks like how long does the system spend in each part of the code, where
Mm-hmm.
does it jump to, and it's used to check and see, hey, where are the bottlenecks in our code.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I wish I had a profiler just in Factorio for my own factory. That would be nice.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Actually, I think
Seriously.
they have some mods like that, don't they? Where it like
Yeah.
highlights your belts if they're underutilized or something, right?
Yeah, there's a few mods that kind of do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are maybe less technical but run mods like that, think of what they're doing here is using those mods to find the bottlenecks in their code. And what else here? We've got heat pipes and conclusions. You want to take out
Yeah.
or take over and do those?
Yeah, so basically, heat pipes was another thing he optimized. And it's interesting that basically all the logic for the heat pipe isn't actually in the heat pipe entity. It's deferred to the heat buffer class. And it got him wondering, why even have the update logic go through the entity all if it doesn't do anything? So several days later, and a lot more code later, he moved all the update logic for heat flow into its own dedicated manager class, almost identical to fluids and electric flow. It looked too good to be true, because what was taking 0.555 milliseconds a tick was showing 0.17 milliseconds a tick, a little over 3 times faster, by just not going through the entity each tick to do heat flow, and he double checked it basically and did more testing, and it was correct what was showing. So it is actually a little over 3 times faster now by touching less memory, which is another example of Factorio not being CPU bound, it's memory latency bound, which is very true. And then in conclusion, basically electric networks, fluid networks, heat pipe networks, none of these interact with each other or anything outside themselves. What happens if I just update all three in parallel? Not surprisingly, each of them got significantly slower because they were competing for memory access, but overall it was still measurably faster. Interesting part about this is that one of the three always takes significantly longer to finish than the others. That means that the others end up being essentially free. The game has to wait for the slowest to be finished anyway, so the faster two of the three get a free ride to finish long before the game finishes waiting for the slowest. Every single save he tested, every file he tested ended up running measurably faster in the end. The most extreme one, lots of steel furnace based smelting, which means lots of inserters basically, showed a 2.3 times speed up in that save game.
Oh man, our seating is the savior of UPS.
Seriously,
Oh man.
he has done so many optimizations on this game to improve UPS, and this is like some of them have been really insignificant. Like I'm not downplaying what he's done. Like he even said that these are little things, but every little bit helps. But this isn't like this is a huge optimization. All these things he's done, and to have save files being so far up to 2.3 times sped up, that was the most extreme one. But even on less extreme cases, probably like 1.5 times, maybe 2 times, which is like pretty insane.
Yeah, this is crazy. I'm wondering what the average player's factory actually looks like, and how much of this is helping them versus how much is helping the really hardcore players.
Um,
Because you see a lot of game devs spend time on things that are only for casual players or only for hardcore. This is definitely like pleasing that hardcore fan base for sure.
oh, definitely. Um, but yeah, I mean that's true. It doesn't really affect the casual player, but the nice thing is just optimizing, just making the game run better in general is like, in my opinion, never like a waste of resources or time. Um, and that's what our seating does is he just
Yeah,
like this is
dedicated
basically what he
job,
does. So
and he
um,
does it well.
he does it
Yeah.
very well. So I'll be interested because one short tidbit after 017 released, um, I have yet to dip below 60 UPS, even on my space exploration base, which you've seen a little bit of, like when you tune into streams.
I see a lot of it get destroyed. There
Well,
wasn't
yeah.
much left after a certain event that I saw.
Well, yes, but I mean, like you've seen like the map view and stuff. Like it's a pretty big base.
Yeah, it's pretty massive.
It's pretty
I mean, it
massive.
it spans multiple planets. That's how big it is.
Yeah, and I even with it rendering like having like multiple surfaces to do the plants and stuff, I have never dropped below 60 UPS on that map, and I was still a little ways away from it. So then adding in these optimizations, like it's gonna be crazy how big you can build if you actually like optimize your own factory before you even start dipping below the normal 60 UPS mark.
Yeah, it is excellent. All the updates that they've been doing. I don't think you could get 60 UPS on if you were say running like version 15, right?
No, probably not.
Yeah, they've done some amazing work to keep this going, keep the mega base rolling.
Yes, yes, keep it going. Oh, one last thing that just dawned on me. While this does affect mostly hardcore players, what this does also do is it can affect casual players if they're playing on a very low end computer.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's definitely true.
and I think a lot of people do because part of the draw that I've seen people say for Factorio is that they can play it on like a 12-year-old laptop or
Mhm.
something, and this does help those players even if they are just building like a normal to medium sized factory.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people use like their college laptops to play this, and so every time our seating does some update and optimization, he's basically helping students fail their courses.
Yeah, I mean,
Because players would quit sooner if they're getting 10 UPS, and here our seating is being like, oh, you want a college degree? No thanks.
yeah,
Gonna make you addicted.
he's he's doing good work here. Obviously, Factorio and building factories is far more important than your education. I mean,
Yeah.
is that
I mean, the
even a
factory
question?
must grow. Does your
Yes.
education need to grow? No, not really.
No, really not. So I think that's gonna do it, guys. Really, really great Friday facts. Pretty long and stuff, even with our summarization, but very, very awesome stuff here that they've talked about and that's coming. And yeah, I believe that'll do it. You have anything else, Dad?
Let's see. I guess once I finish up with my house move here, I need to order some swag, get some stuff from this eShop.
Yeah,
Just gotta
man.
wait until I'm able to ship it over there.
Yeah, would probably be good to have like a current address to send it to.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
Good
yeah,
job, Factorio devs. This was a good set of patch note or not patch notes, a good blog post with a lot of different sections. It wasn't just one team putting out the content this time.
yeah, really, really great stuff here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave your thoughts below, as always, and on the forums and Reddit for the devs. And until next time, we will see you later.
Catch you later.